Sana. I know it's usually so early. People are up to so much. And I thought it would be nice to start our Monday morning with Better Days by Kodong Clan. We're getting our music from Spotify. Please add it to your playlist. Mume Amkaje, how are you doing this morning? What's popping? What's popping? Please let me know. What are you up to? Are you dropping the kids off to school? Are you just lounging in bed? Na ukasema, let me tune in, tuone huku kunaendaga aje. Children free. Hey, leo sikulala, finally nimeipata. Oh, you had to stay awake. Pole sana, lakini it's usually a good time. It's usually a good time here, so I'm glad you've caught us. King Stephen Fast, tunasema ngoma ya intro lazima. Vibe check. That is Better Days by Kodong Clan. Really, it can get you through bad days. It really can. So add it to your playlist. We get our music from Spotify. Na leo nimesema badala ya kuwapatia, what is it called, traffic updates, I'm going to shout out like some people who sent in messages, what is it called, comments. They left comments in our last episode, and I'm going to read some of them, and then we're going to get into the episode. Today we're talking about breaking cycles, and that is like, what is it that you don't want to pass on to the next generation? If you have kids, if you don't have kids, that thing that you're just breaking cycles. So we'll get into the conversation because there's a whole thing that was happening on TikTok. But before we get to it, Nedisu nasema new week, just lounging in bed. Love it. Dolly atajafika. Dolly usually tunes in while at work. So imagine kuna watu wanafika kazi by 7 a.m. Njuguna, you are saying, good morning, I'm prepping for school. Oh, that's nice. Okay, I hope you'll be... Is your class before 9 or after 9? So you might leave us at some point, but I hope tutakuwa tumeingia kwa conversation vizuri. We've already talked a bit. So good morning. Mine is actually easy. I think I'm well rested. I feel well rested and I'm happy. Anyway, sina mengi, ila let me read messages from last time. Last time we were actually talking about red flags, toxic traits we have as Kenyans. And Miss Onyango here says on Spotify, this is so true. If you have not been tested, you are no saint. Most of us will betray whoever for less than 1 million shillings. Sa zingine hata a bottle of konyagi, my friend. I love this episode so much. I thank you so much, Miss Onyango. Njuguna Omi says, it will be a hard separation, especially when the only good thing about Monday is this. Poleni sana, we are edging towards the end of the season. But here's the thing, after this, I still have a book that I'm writing, and also I'll see if I can do some YouTube videos here and there. I also want to get into YouTube content. So I will not maybe disappear like that. So just hopefully we'll see. Aki poleni sana. But I'll see how this can be a thing even next year when we come back for our next season, because Mondays are really dope. And Masharia Maina, you're saying, Aki, I'm always looking forward to this podcast, Olive. Much love to you too, love. Thank you so much for tuning in. And on YouTube, we had some comments still on the same episode. Red flags za wa Kenya, tabia za wa Kenya too. I forgot, we should have played that major song last week. Nonsense. Anyway, Kepaso, I don't know how to spell that, to pronounce that. Kepaso 2024, you say, you complaining about Ruto is just representation of every single Kenyan out there. Wakora, low-life thieves, and scams Kenyans are shitty people. 2027, if no Maraga or Omtata, then no other options but Ruto, Kumi bila break. Finish his 2 terms and start afresh 2032. My goodness, the next Nini elections will be 2032. We ain't replacing Ruto with the worst person like Rigiji. Ngoja uone 2027 vile watu watachukua akili waeke kando. Kwanza wataweka kwa kabati. Alafu wanze tukutembea na hiyo kichwa yao ikiwa open. Kathleen Seche, good morning love. How are you doing? Karibu sana. I'm reading comments from the last episode that we had. We've read comments from Spotify. And this is from YouTube. Child free Kenyan. Is it the same one who didn't sleep here? Are you the same one who commented on YouTube? Ni venye sina pesa sahi. Always broke, always borrowing. But you said some of the flags here are financial irresponsibility in the name of vibes, mocking therapy or emotional expression, using culture to justify disrespect, double lives, love bombing, then ghosting. Hizi ni tabia zetu wa Kenya. Guy, we need to do better. Entitlement to your body, time, or money. You guys, has someone ever borrowed you money? And then when you ask them back for it, they tell you, sasa hiyo ni pesa ya kunisumbulia. Anyway, you continue to say jealousy disguised as love, hiyo ni kwa friendships, lack of accountability, wacha emotions, think logically. So all those are red flags that we have as Kenyans. Thank you so much, Child Free Kenyan. And Emily Benta, you also say, in all honesty, is more than a podcast. It's a radical, act of introspection and emotional liberation. Olive builds a platform for unspoken truths, healing narratives, and cultural reflection. Whether you are unpacking identity, politics, or relationships, this is an audio space where honesty meets healing. I thought this was a very, very good comment. Thank you so much, Emily, and it's very, very beautiful. Now, this episode, those were comments from the last episode, and thank you so much for always interacting. But today we are talking about breaking cycles, and that is in relation to, are there things that you will not pass forward to your children, or are there things you're very aware of, and as you're going into parenting or choosing not to be a parent, it's because of these particular things. Now, this conversation we are having, because there was a whole video on TikTok where there was this mother who looked very irate. It seemed like the child had drawn her to alimpush paka kwa cliff. So she was just like, she was literally crashing out, this woman. And I think the things she said to her daughter is what made the video trend, because she said things like, oh, you don't mean anything to me, so I'm going to play the clip, but I want to give you a warning. I don't know about the audio, so you might want to reduce your volume in case unasikiza kwa earphones, utasikia kitu loud sana, ama there might be sounds that might irritate your ears. So I want to play that video before we get into now talking about it. Before I play the video, Happy Nature Adventure 1, you are saying, I've been avoiding waking up early in the morning almost my whole life. Then boom, in all honesty. Lazima uamke usikize radio. Why do we want to abandon our cultures? Si tulikuwa tunaamka. I used to wake up at 6 to listen to who? But Emily nilipenda my Nankingai. Millennial call. I didn't listen to, there are some radio stations that I hear a lot of Nairobians listen to that I didn't listen to. Akina 1FM. If I had the strength, because there's a time when I was also going to work through Kawangware, so Giding a ghost in the morning is a show and a half. But anyway, I'm going to play the clip that brought us here today. And warning, check out for your ears. What atamini adjust monitor yangu. Here we go.
You lazy sana.
Oh, sorry, there was music still playing in the background. Pole sana. Here we go.
Do you know you are nothing to me? Unajua hivyo? I can do without you. I think you cannot do without me. Mimi walikana nini? Mimi walikanako.
Najua nilikuwa mgonjwa.
Mimi walikanako kiss. Am I your wife? Unanisimamia hapo unanishautia venye unataka. Wewe sasa mwezi mkafiki beyond your noses.
Najua nilikuwa mgonjwa.
Na usaje? Ukishauri nitakuanga hiyo.
Haiwezi kushauri mimi na kwa mimi.
Toka hiyo mdomo. Sitakuanga hiyo moja na nimalizana na wewe. Hii nyumba ni yangu. I deserve respect. Unasikia mko machua, mko na ideas. You can do what you want. Sio kwangu. Ukwa mtakao kupaka pale na nataka sio venye mnataka. I deserve respect. Mtoto wa aina gani? You cannot think even beyond your nose. Nyamaza hata nikuoge nyoni mto. Hii nyumba yangu itatoka. Usiende kwenye unaenda basi. Ukienda kwenye unaenda, ujue hata wewe ile shule utaenda. Hata ukiwa sio kwenda shule ukaolewe. Acha nikopoka uze tu huko. Mimi nakupea 3 years. Hii nyumba yangu inatoka. Na wewe? Sijui utaenda teke kama utaenda wapi. Unatoka kwa nyumba hata wewe. Nonsense.
Nimeiba vifunguo. Nimetoka nje lakini najua nitafungiwa. Kenda nikanunua vitu za kukula na zile pesa mlinitumia kwa live. But sasa juu nilichukua vifunguo without her knowing. Najua amenifungia gate siwezi rudi ndani ya nyumba. I've just bought like some food stuff for me and my brother. Juu amesema ati anataka kutupikia ati ndio tuendelee kumtusi. So of course I'm not eating that food.
There we go. I hope you adjusted your volume, and that was not disturbing to your ears. But basically, that is the long shot of it. That's the video that brought us here today. And Nedisu, you were saying Ramogi Radio. Hey, my Ramogi Radio. I never listened to it, but I would hear my dad listening to it. And you continue to say, not seen the video, but unfortunately, this has been the reality in our households in the past. Children free, you are saying, Jamani, marriage ain't for all. Is it marriage or what is it called? Child, having children. Yeah, it might not be for all. At a marriage might not be for all. But basically, today we are talking about what is it called? We are talking about cycles you want to break or things you don't want to pass down. So listening to that video, I think what made it go viral were a lot of the things that the mom said. Things like, "Oh, I can do without you. I don't need you, and it's you guys who, it's you guys who actually need me." And these are actually things we had in our houses, by the way, and we didn't know they're not normal until we were older. We were older, then we realized, hey, these are not things to tell to children, right? And children free, you're continuing to say, seems like the lady is child free, but a mother by force. So I saw actually someone say this on, was it on TikTok, on one of the responses for my teaser. And I don't know, because I feel like this video is very layered. And my thoughts around this video were, first of all, this, please naomba kwanza msini cancel, but we don't have the context for what the girl did to the mother. And you see the mother she's been really pushed to the edge. And we don't know what she did. We really do not know at what point she got her mother to, for her mother to also get there. But we do not also refute that the mother was also overboard. That was quite some overreaction, because as you hear her banging something on the table, ilikuwa nyundo. It was an actual hammer. The mom was banging on the table. So we don't have context of what this child did to get their mom there, because we understand that both of them could actually be at fault. But then right now we are only seeing the mother's video. The other thing I thought that was very didn't add up about this video was, I can understand you recording this in the moment, maybe to go show your sister or your friends and tell them, this is, imagine what mommy did. But I don't know what was the intention behind posting it to social media for us. I don't know. There, I also feel maybe it could have been held back, maybe talked about in the family first, but exposing the mother like this without us having the mother's side, I don't know. I feel something there wasn't done right. And I don't know what you think about that. But my thoughts is, we don't have the full context of the video. And why did you record your mom? While ukianza kugombanishwa, ulianza kurecord knowing very well, I'm going to post this on social media so I can expose my mother in a particular way. I don't know. That intention also is not clear to me. And the other thing was, if in the case it was abuse, then it needs to be reported. If in case they've been going through this thing and their mother is overboard, then it needs to be reported. Have they been physically harmed? Are they wananyimwa chakula? Ama are they being thrown out? And you see the mother is saying things like, you'll see what school you'll go to. You see, so at the end of the day, are there necessities that children should be having that they are not being given? And therefore, it warrants that this is actual abuse. And if it is, then it should be reported. This should already be reported either to the police. I don't know what structures we have in Kenya to report parents for abuse, but that should be something that should be brought forward. Because if you just post it like this, then it looks like mother versus child, and we don't have full context. That's where I'm at with the video so far. Now, we've not even gotten into the psychoanalysis for the video, but let me read some of the responses that are coming in, because zikikuwa mingi pia, I might not keep up. What is it? Nedi Subela, you said true, 100%. I guess you are saying 100% we don't have context of the mother's side, right? And children free, you're saying anybody knows about the father. Oh yeah, by the way, we don't have any information on the dad in the house. And yeah, you see, there's a lot of context missing in this video, a lot of context. King Stephen Fast, you are saying moms or parents have been saying this for over the years, but there are a lot of variations. There could have that could have led to that. That's, yeah, thank you. I'm glad you're agreeing with me, because I saw that point of view was very much villainized when people were discussing it on social media. And I was just like, yes, the mother has overreacted, but we don't have full context of the video. That we cannot deny, but we still don't have the full context of the video. Children free, you're saying whatever happens in life, talk to no one like that. Yes, that's why we're saying the mother definitely overreacted. Yes, the mother did overreact. Then that is no way to talk to anyone, even if it's peer to peer. I really do understand. And you continue to say, no matter what happens, why is she telling the lady akaole? Why is she telling the lady akaolewe? I think these phrases are phrases we've had. All of us have had. And maybe millennials, we normalized them. These are phrases we had. Well, in our house, it wasn't like go and olewa. What maybe I'd have had is, where are you coming from? Like, but my mom never told us go back to where you've come from. That we never had in our house. So for that, I'll give her. But there was also like, where are you coming from? Where are you going? And for me, I remember wanting to move out was majorly so I don't answer to anyone. And because I'm not an outside person, me, I'm a very indoors person. So if I'm outside, I'm only outside for a bit, and I'm very cautious as well. So I hated answering questions for uko wapi, uko na nani, unarudi saa ngapi. That was the biggest gift I gave myself. People thought I want to leave my parents' house just so I can go out every day. I wanted to leave my parents' house so I can oversleep, so I can sleep in the morning, please. It's as simple as that. Nevin Luna, hey jirani, hey nimekukawia. Wa kwanza kufika kwa teacher. Wa kwanza kufika kwa teacher. That's exactly what this video is giving. Because the first person who gives the story has an upper hand. Now you see, we don't have context of the mother. We don't know how the structure of the house is set up. Where's the dad? That's so true. Nevin Luna, the internet works like that. Up to teacher, the first one to reach the teacher. Uyo ndo story yake itaaminika. Nedi Subela, you were saying, I also want to extend grace to mothers because they had no manual for this. They basically passed down what they saw growing up. And now this is a very important conversation that you bring up, because we realize even our moms, and it's something that Children Free has actually said, there are people, you look at your aunties right now and you see they have, kuna aunties unaona tu huyu akwa mzazi, but they sort of didn't have options at their time. But if you look at them, you're just like, I don't think this person would have been a parent if they were given the choices that us we have, right? And I get it. We extend them grace because hakuna manual ya kuwa mtoto na hakuna manual ya kuwa mama. But at the end of the day, I think what overrides all of this is the adult has to be the adult. And I think that's the hardest bit. And there's someone who gave contribution to the discussion yesterday. And they told me, can you imagine how difficult it is to adult without children? Now add on top of it, children. It's a lot on the parents, and I'm glad that you actually acknowledge that. King Stephen, first, you are saying social media plays a lot when bringing up a child. They possess values that are not taught by the parents at home. Some tend to copy other families overseas from the internet. Now, this is another very important point that I wanted us to talk about. And when I started talking about this when I put this conversation forward, my actual intention is for us to look at how prepared are we to be parents. When you're signing up to have a child, are you sure you know what you're signing up for? And it's not that you prepare for when they are 12, when they are 20. No, it's not all that. I just mean when you're signing up for parenthood, you're signing up knowing that you might have an irate 12-year-old in the house. You might have someone going crazy in your house at the age of 15. You will need to talk to them about sex at some point. You will need to take them through their first period at some point. They will get heartbroken while dating. Do you have the capacity to handle that? Or are you signing up knowing that when it gets to that bridge, we'll actually cross it with my child? So it's also very good that this discussion is important for discussing the intentionality of being a parent. Because if you see, there's, was it season 4? Season 4, there's an episode we talk about parents and undiagnosed mental conditions. So, and there were confessions of people who are like, imagine at our age 20, 30 is when we find out mom has bipolar or mom has this condition. And all your lives you lived with someone who behaved very irrationally and you just didn't know, and that wounded you. And some of us don't know when we are predisposed to some mental conditions, and then we go ahead and have children. Some people have had children and succumbed to postpartum depression. And not, when I say succumbed, it's not like they died from it. They literally committed suicide because it was a lot for them. So there are so many things that we don't consider going into having children, and you'll get to a point where you lose your mind because children can also drive you up a wall. Ukweli tu. Saa zingine I look at the things we are doing to our parents, I'm just like, hey, by the way. Mtu anaweza kukukasirisha. So those are things we need to be cognizant of when signing up for parenthood. And that is why when we say unplanned parenthood, we are fighting unplanned parenthood. There are things like this that we don't even get to discuss. A lot of times we're just discussing the money, or do you have enough money to raise a child? And that's a big factor, yes. But do we also look at your mental state? Do you look at if you have the capacity, the emotional and mental capacity to actually bring children? And something else that someone also contributed to the conversation yesterday was, now that you've seen you can have children, do you know if you can be able to have 2 children? 3 children, be able to show up differently for all your children? These are things we all need to consider when going into parenting, and some things you won't see. Like I'm sure this mother didn't see at some point, and maybe you've raised your other children well. Maybe firstborn was fine, secondborn was fine. Ule Gen Z wa mwisho, utaona shetani na macho. So at the end of the day, you need to know, when I'm signing up for parenting, it could go anywhere, and I should be able to know I've signed up and I'm ready to show up at whatever stage it is. Children free, you're saying there's a place where children report parents, but where do parents report children? I think it's the kina Gumbaru. What is it called? Not Gumbaru is the schools, but what are they called? Juvenile. There's juvenile courts and there's juvenile prison, I guess. I don't know if you take your child to prison, but yes, there's juvenile courts and prisons where I think parents can report kids. I don't know if anyone has this structure. Please give us the information, and if you can give us information on where children also report parents, that would really be helpful. So asante sana for sharing that. Children free. You continue to say. Sorry, I've lost it. Kidogo. You continue to say, and that's why you become a parent when you want, not because you have to. Yes, so planned parenthood is very, very important in that case, that we are not looking at the mental state. You continue to say, I usually tell my mom, yeye pia ni mtoto wa mtu. She doesn't have to act like a grown-up all the time. She's just a beautiful lady born earlier than me, and she's just learning a thing or two, I guess. Yeah, so our parents too are human, and Pia, they're doing this life for the first time. Then they're also being a mother for the first time. In fact, being a mother to your firstborn is their first time, and also being a mother to you is their first time. So there's a lot of nuances. There's a lot of layered conversations that we can have from this one particular thing. But it is very important to note that the video did not give us context of the mother and what the child did to the mother. Juvenile is extreme compared to child helpline. Oh, child helpline is 116. 116. I don't know if you can confirm that for us. And juvenile is bad. It's like maybe your child is a criminal. I don't know, but me, I thought that's where you take kids. Children free, you're saying, just like me, it's okay for her to not know. She's human. It's okay for her to be her and speak. She's just a beautiful girl. She needs to take care of herself, think about herself. And I guess that's all. That's what you're talking about. So yes, from this conversation, we are picking that mothers too, parents too, are doing it for the first time. And for this video, we don't have context of what the child did to the mother. Now, on to the mother's side, the villains, the villainizing of the mother. Yes, there's definitely overreaction, and I don't know what would lead people to holding a hammer, because we've normalized, as Africans, of course, we've normalized beating children, and this is across the world. I used to think it's just us, but apparently even black children in America also get beaten. Africa walisema geographical location is not a factor. You will be beaten. So why I think what was disturbing about this video, this woman was wielding a hammer. Like a hammer, nyundo. She was wielding a hammer. And you see, even in the video, she says, nawe nitakupiga nyundo wewe. So I think a hammer is a bit extreme. As we were beaten in our home, and I really used to think it's abuse because my mom used to beat us with a belt. Until I later met people, and I learned people used to be thrown at things. As we've never seen things flying in our house. Watu walikuwa narushiwa mwiko, stool. Apparently you people get thrown at things. As we were just beaten, and we thought that was so bad. Oh my goodness, my mom used to choose my dad's widest belt, and that's the one she'd use, and we were just like, this is abuse. Kumbe tungejua watu wengine huku nje are going through the most, because there's even you've had children being beaten by an extension cable, like via a steamer. Crazy. Yo. Now, I know there's an overreaction on the mom's part. That is definitely. And it also feels like there's high indiscipline. It feels like there's something that got her to the edge. From my own perspective, just analyzing that video, I feel like it's something she'd said a number of times. She had repeated. Also, it could be something very ridiculous, very crazy. Like, sometimes even when parents are angry, they're angry because of the anxiety you might have caused them. Like, let's say you went out, did not talk to them, you've not told them where you are, it's you've gone and slept somewhere the whole night. And we've heard of cases of femicide, we've heard of cases of children not coming back home, abductions. So you can imagine the anxiety your parent is going through. And then you're going to come back and tell them, no, you cannot abuse me, you cannot talk to me like that. So I feel like she was pushed to the edge. I don't know with what, and that context is what we still don't have. But I see the overreaction of the things she said were also very hurtful. Of the me, I can do without you. I can take you out. That is something that we hear from our parents a lot, and for us, we've normalized it as Africans. But it's not a normal thing to say. It's not a normal thing to tell someone, "I brought you to this world. I'll take you back." Like that is a death threat. That's actually a death threat. So some of the things she said are extremely hurtful, and the wielding of a hammer, and the way she was talking and talking and talking, and she was screaming, that's also something that might wound someone in one way or the other. Like for me, for people who stick around me, they know I'm really averse to noise. And noise sort of like startles me. I really, and that is why you'll never, I don't hoot like Gary, I don't hoot. And why I hate driving in Nairobi town is because people hoot a lot. And that really startles me. And it's because we also grew up in a home where my mom used to quarrel, like she used to quarrel a good one. And she didn't say hurtful things, but me, the idea of people shouting or a high pitched voice, really, any noises that register in my ear as noises, I was like, is not the place to be. Labda ni mziki to go out. Like, when I hear things like hooting, I hear someone shouting, someone screaming, those things really, really startle me. And you see, that is a very subtle thing. You see, and this one, sasa mwenye ameshikiwa hama akishautiwa na akiambiwa go out and uelewe, I don't know what kind of wounds that would actually inflict. Let me continue to read some of the responses that I'm getting here so that they don't pile up. Nidi Suabella, you are saying, spare the rod, spoil the child. Spare the rod should be used very sparingly. And I also feel like, I think there was an episode in season 4, I think it was about motherhood or something, where we talked about, and the two people who came, one works in a hospital and the other one is actually a lactation specialist. And they said, when you're beating your children, do not beat your children with your bare hands. Apparently, your bare hands are used to show love. So when you're beating your children, use something, use slippers, use mwiko, but do not beat your children with your bare hands. Apparently, your bare hands are supposed to nurture them. So that's something that I learned in an episode last year. So yeah, very keen. I hope mmesikiza episodes zote because I have gems for the gems, right? And King Stephen 1, you are saying, we continue to blame the parents, forgetting kids are a whole human beings by themselves. It comes to a point, I guess, where some parents lose control of their kids and end up blaming themselves. Don't get me wrong. And I think this is very natural for parents a lot of times. When your kid does something extreme and you're just like, where did I go wrong? And the first thing you think is, where did I go wrong? And it's very easy because that's how the society is set up. Because even me seeing this video and being like, the way the kid is also crying and screaming, and I'm just like, maybe that was the precedence set in the house. So it's easier even for the society to also blame you for what the kid is doing. And so maybe parents have also internalized that when a child does something crazy, they also go like, where did I go wrong? It must be something that I must have done wrong. But in real sense, kids also can drive you up a wall. Kids can go and pick random shit from school, from the media they are watching, and then all of a sudden your child is behaving like a demon-possessed creature. And you don't know what's happening. And at that point, the parents often will self-blame first because they're just like, where did I go wrong? And you've seen this with a lot of parents who find out, or rather, get to realize that their kids are queer. And every time a parent realizes their kids are queer, the first thing is, where did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong? And I really need to find a way to fix this. So I hope parents also remember that their kids, that they too are also human. They don't have control of everything. Yes, you can teach the kids to the best of your knowledge, but whatever they decide to do now at some point is beyond you. And look at, we take our kids to school in the morning and come back in the evening for them. You are not with your kids for a better part of 18 years. From the time they are 3 years old, watoto wenda shule sangapi? 3 years, I think at the age of 3. From age 3, they're primarily in the care of someone else until probably age 18, 19. And 18, 19, if you're privileged, then you send your kids to campus, again, they are not with you. You realize. So technically, parents don't have full control of their kids, but you can always teach your kids whatever it is you need to teach them in their formative years. But then there's I don't want to say there's little you have in control, but that control slips away slowly as the kids grow up. So that's a very important point. Emily Wilson, one you say, but I think parents present themselves like, I know everything, and that's where the mistake comes in. And I think that's older parents. Now I see millennial parents, or rather my friends who are parenting, they seem to show up as humans for their kids as well. And I think that is very important because even for me, my parents really presented as know-it-alls. And by the time I was coming to realize, by the hata watu pia hawajui kitu wanafanya, I was also very old. All of us are choosing our paths in life. And you see that's where the dysfunctional families come in, because your parents always presented like, I am telling you, and there's nothing you know. I am telling you and I'm telling you, right? And it gets to a point where kids feel like they cannot contribute to either opinions or whatever the family is going through. And therefore kids start to distance themselves. And that is where we get to experience parents in their old age who have kids who don't come home, and they're asking themselves, what did we not do? Didn't we pay school fees? Didn't we clothe them? Didn't we give them food? Like, they don't understand. And at the end of the day, it's just because the parents really they played God and had no flaws and knew everything, and they didn't give their children space for autonomy. And when children go away, they have no way of connecting with you, because it was always a tyrannical dynamic between you and your children. So that is also something to consider. I love this conversation because it's bringing a lot of things to the surface. And King Stephen, first, you're saying there are some parents with bad parenting stats. Kuna watu tu, by the way, there are people I've looked at and I'm just like, ain't no way you are a parent. Me, I judge. I really do judge. There are people who would be safer not being parents, and they've already had kids, and you can see they genuinely neglect children, and you're just like, this is another broken child who will be pushed into the society, who will then bleed on another child, So like, I usually used to joke about it, but right now I'm starting to take it seriously. We need an assessment that you need to pass before you have children, because ain't no way, even the things we're seeing on social media where people are meeting, like influencers are meeting, 3 months in, you've given birth to someone. How did you date someone for 3 months and got pregnant for them? How sure are you this is someone who'll stay, like, this is a good parent? 3 months is crazy. And now we have broken homes, because we also want to normalize baby mama, baby daddy drama. That's nonsense. Make sure that when you're going to have kids, you're also very calculative on who you're going to have kids with. Now, I know people switch up, because some people have dated people for maybe even 5 years. Umekana mtu, mumejuana, hadi when you started having the child, it was all well and good. Mtoto akaanza kwenda akaanza kwenda nursery school, it was all good. And then at some point, someone switches up on you. That makes sense. But if you come to me, you've been dating someone for 3 months, 6 months, there's not an engagement in sight, there's not a wedding in sight, there's not discussions of finances and how you're going to start a family. You've not talked about all these things. You're telling me you're pregnant. And then this person says, I beg me, I'm not ready to be a father. They leave you there. Now you're a single mom who you're running around in children's court. There's a lot of things a lot of times when I tell women, guard your womb, because you are the bearer of the child. It's one thing when we come here and tell men, oh, you should not be deadbeats, do this and that, but they're not the one carrying the child at the end of the day. So then they can bail. They literally can bail. You've seen men go to the extent of quitting their jobs so they don't pay child support. Do you know how crazy that is? So I think we need to think about parenting through and through. And right now I'm seeing some of us, some people are not parents. Some people are not parents. And if we had a child protective service in Kenya, so many would have their children taken away. And sometimes, if you think I'm kidding, just go and look at the Usikimie posts. I know it's a difficult page to follow, but if you follow Usikimie, the posts that come up here and there, some people are not parents. Some people are just not parents. Na to admit, na to kubali. Nedi Subela, you're saying, belt, kwetu ni kama slap. Belt kwenu ni kama slap. Hey, you guys have suffered. Kumbe me, I was here blaming my mom. Na kumbe sisi, we are better off. Well, anyways, Poetry Dolly at Karibu Sana. Good morning. How are you doing? We are talking about breaking cycles. What are we not passing down to our children, or rather the next generation, or just breaking that cycle if we are not going to have kids? This is the In All Honesty podcast on our TBC radio show that comes to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on Instagram Live with me, Oliver Rao. And we are discussing, because this topic was brought to us by a video that went viral on TikTok about a mom really be in her feelings with her daughter. And I think why the video went viral was because of how she reacted. She was wielding a hammer and said things like, you mean nothing to me. You are nothing to me. You need me. I don't need you. So those are some of the things that made the video go viral. But we've also discussed some things about that video that have now brought the conversations that we are going through. And Emily Wilson, you're saying, mbona mnapiga watoto kwanza? Hey. Question. Ebu muansa mbona mnapiga watoto? If whipping kids helps, adults should be whipped too. Hapo umekuja sana. Vile mimi naogopa kiboko. I don't know. I feel very indifferent about beating up children, because I also feel like sometimes, because I see my sister is raising 3 boys. Hey, na saa zingine nakaga kwa hiyo nyumba 5 minutes. I'm just like, for that reason, I'm out. So I feel indifferent about beating up kids. I know there's extremes to it, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like sometimes watoto uchapwa and I don't mind it. I'll see like a kid being slapped on the wrist or akaslippers kidogo, and I don't feel some type of way, but I'd like to know the people who don't believe in chapaing kids at all, and for parents who've raised their kids without ever beating them. I'd really like to know how that is, because there's also families that they were never beaten, but they were given ridiculous punishments like sleeping outside, like you can't come into the house. They were nyimwad food, as you are being beaten, and then after you're beaten, you're still given your food to eat. You'll just eat sobbing. So there are things, I don't know if there's a better punishment than the other, but for physical, me, I would say I'm against it, because me mwenyewe naogopa. I am so fearful of physical pain, but I don't know. I don't feel some type of way about it. So you can tell me, people for pro or anti beating. Ebu, tell us what your thoughts are. Emily Wilson, you're saying generational trauma, pain passed down like DNA. Oh, that's what physical does. Okay, maybe that's why I'm so scared of kuchapo. Hey, you'll never even find me in a fight. No. Some parents lack the ability to see their children as a separate feeling human being. That is true. And why also beating might be right there on the fence, where you really need to know the balance, is because we've also realized some parents, this will be another discussion for mental conditions. Some parents view their kids as competition. So you can imagine a parent who doesn't like a particular kid. Huyo mtoto hatachapwa for correction. Huyo mtoto hatachapwa for hasira. And you can imagine other things, like maybe a parent has had a child. Say things like Jackie Matubia. The way Jackie Matubia has talked about how Blessing Lungaho did not take care of his child, and the way sometimes she would feel some type of resentment towards the child that Blessing left for her. And I'm just like, if Jackie Matubia were to ever punish that child, they'd punish that child out of anger and not so much to correct them. So Emily Wilson, I really do get your point. That's very true. Guys, this conversation is loaded. Pauline Wanjiku, you are saying, Emily Wilson, I agree with you. Parents should know that whipping doesn't really work. It just instills fear. I really said, I don't know if I would talk about it like that, because me, I say I'm indifferent, because I also feel like there's levels to beating. And I wouldn't say Asu came out fine, because me, I fear pain like nonsense, but I don't know. I really don't know. I'd want to know more people's opinions on physical discipline. But the mother feels abandoned. Are you talking about the mother in the video? If you're talking about the mother in the video, I can understand. She feels like she ain't in control, though. Let me see if you continue to... if you give me one solid thought process, please, Emily Wilson, so that I know what you're saying when you say the mother feels abandoned. King Stephen Fast, you're saying, but do you know what else we are not passing? Culture. We are slowly allowing our kids to adopt Hollywood cultures. I don't know what you mean by this, because sometimes when Africans say that we're adopting westernized things, we're just adopting humanity. We're just adopting respect and things like those. Because you see, in the African context, children had no autonomy, children had no voice, children were to be seen and never to be heard, right? And so sometimes when we start seeing kids being things like gentle parenting, people might say it's westernized, but in real sense, yes, parent your kids with gentleness. Things like not beating kids, people might say it's Western culture, but in real sense, come on, mtoto wako anasikia, mbona umchape, right? Like, if you can talk to them and they'll listen, why beat them? So I think it's a very delicate balance for what we're taking from Hollywood and what really needs to be instilled in children. So at the end of the day, we could also sit here and talk about, you're beating your kids, na. But there's a parent who their kids is being raised by YouTube. Morning to evening, you just leave your kids with gadgets. You're not instilling anything in them. So parenting is very layered. And I'm actually even scared now I brought this topic up, because I feel like I'm talking from a point of privilege, because me, I'm not a parent, and I'm seeing things from the outside, and you don't know how it actually feels to go through these things. So I could really use your opinions and your contributions on this topic, because I feel like I'm also speaking from the outside and not so much with any informed direction. King Stephen, you continue to say, you might not beat the kid, but there are parents who yell to kids from a younger age, which is way bad. Oh, that's what I was saying, actually. You might not beat the kid, but you're harming them in another way. Like, let's say this mama who we saw, who, let's say that woman doesn't beat her kids at all, but every day you are told, go and get married. I'm giving you 3 years to leave this house. In fact, I don't need you guys. In fact, you're the ones who need me. I could do without you. My life would be so much better without you. Imagine those are things that you hear being reiterated every day of your life, but you're not being beaten. So at the end of the day, it's a very delicate balance. And as we said, parenting, no one has a manual. You're doing it for the first time. And even if there has been parents before you, there has never been a parent for your child. Your child is your very own and you're doing that for the first time. Vivi Jerry, you're saying, good morning, my love. Good morning, Vivi. How are you doing? Karibu sana. How's your morning coming along? Unafanya nini? Unaenda kazi? Ama ushafika kazi? Emily Wilson, you're saying, I just think the mother was forcefully married. Are you talking about the mom here in the video? I think I've talked about this in so many instances where I feel like our parents didn't have options. And if our parents had options, they really would have made very different choices. And it could be choices like maybe they'd have never had kids, maybe they'd have had less kids, maybe they'd have had kids later in life. There are so many decisions that I see our parents didn't have options for, and they just went into it. And going into it, there was no manual, and for them, things were expected of them. And you see, that's why I mentioned in our episode, not our episode, but our season 4, we had an episode where we were talking about parents with mental conditions, and probably they were not diagnosed. And things like, you know how sometimes your parents will say things like, you'll talk back to your parent or you'll answer your parents something, and it's just you giving them your stance or your opinion, and they'll start screaming and going like, this child wanted to beat me. In fact, they think they're so grown, they now want to punch me and kick me. That's not normal. That's not normal for someone to talk to you back, and then you decide, you go and tell other people that they wanted to beat you. That being an alarmist is not normal. That is actually tendencies of narcissism, because why are you pathologically lying? So that is not normal. So there are things that we thought are just normal. But yeah, given our parents, given the chance, if they lived in the times that we live in, I feel like those are options that they really would have done. There are things that have done different. Number of children, maybe not having children later on. I don't know. There are so many things that have done different. But at the end of the day, Heka Bookshop, I feel discipline in a child has levels and age. There is a certain age where beating doesn't work; it makes it worse. But there is a certain age where you need a whip close. And I think those are the formative years. And I don't know if this is correct, but I know every value, like my values and whatever I use to date, are the things I learned between maybe 3 years to maybe 10, 12, like while I was still a teenager, before I went to high school. I feel like those were my formative years. Primary school were my formative years, and everything that I learned during that time is what I'm using up to date. So I think the formative years are very important, and maybe that's when you need to use Kidogo Whip here, use talking, create a balance of everything. And in our house, I think if you got to, was it high school or even class 8 Tuko? I think it was class 8 when my mom told me, I can't beat you anymore. Now you have to start acting like a grown up. So in our house, it got to a point where people stopped getting beaten. So we were even looking forward to growing older so that we don't get beaten, we get talked to. So yes, I think this is very important insight. It's different with different children at different stages. So that you have to establish for yourself in your house, and also seek help. It's not wrong to just be like, if I can afford it, let me get a therapist or a child specialist to just help me with what to do at this point, or help me parent through this point. At the end of the day, it's okay to get help. It really is okay to get help. Kick Stephen, you're saying, no, what works for them sometimes doesn't work with us. Do you know some Westerners also beat their kids? Oh yeah, we've agreed. Oh yes, we've agreed that it's not so much that we take up what we are getting from the Western world. It's just you can borrow and balance it out. And that's the art of being an adult. You choose what to take in and what to keep out. And at the end of the day, it's a balance. It's really a balance. And I know you're saying this because unatetea kuchapa. And that's okay. I mean, imagine me, I'm there with people who want to beat their kids. You can do it. You really can do it, because I've seen how kids can run you up a wall. I really see it, but I also acknowledge that it has to be done very carefully, because if you're beating a child to discipline and you're beating a child out of anger, those are two different things, and the beating might come out different. So at the end of the day, yes, I do agree with you. King Stephen, you agree with the Kaya Bookshop 100%. Emily Wilson, you're saying, or perhaps feels like the kid spoiled her life. Yes. And that's why I've said the punishment will come in as anger. It is resentment. Yes. And if our parents had the choice, I really feel like our parents would have made different choices. Honestly, sometimes when I'm just looking at them, even sometimes when they're speaking within themselves, like parents to parents, you can tell my mother would have stopped at baby 3. She really would have, and you just don't know what happened. You don't know what was the story there that they got to baby 5, baby 7, And Emily Wilson, Hekaya Bookshop, you're saying, but emotional abuse is worse and it should not happen to anyone. Emotional abuse is crazy. And I remember as a child, I used to be, you'd rather beat me. Beat me than give me silent treatment. Beat me than say hurtful words to me. Nipige tu ishe. Mwili naeza eka elastoplast. Kwa roho sijui nitaeka nini. So yes, emotional abuse is bad. Bad. No one should experience emotional abuse at all. Emily Wilson, you're saying, mtoto hafai kuchapwa, muongeleshe. I guess you are for anti-beating completely. And I don't want to get into this discussion because then it will be the anti-beaters versus the pro-beaters. But at the end of the day, you do you, but there has to be a balance, and we also need to look out for each other. Pia ukiona mtu anasema chapa mtoto, but they are chapaing mtoto design ingine, kwani ni nyoka jamani? Is it Satan in the Garden of Eden? Please. Emily Wilson, you say, was the mother loved at home? Hey, you want to start for our parents? Then they were just raised. In fact, me, I come from an older family, so my parents were actually raised at the time for colonialism. Like they saw the white man in the country. And at that time, if people were surviving, they really had no time for this is love, this is how to talk to your children. So I'm imagining our grandparents now were cutthroat, maybe. I don't know. I never met my grandparents, but I'm imagining for them it must have been crazy. If my parents had to see all those things, we imagine mzazi wako grow up wakati wa Kenyatta, Moi. Anyway, some of us are experiencing the same thing because now we are growing up with Ruto. Abego, who dig this speech for me? Emily Wilson, you say, no matter what the situation is individually, I don't support whipping kids. I understand that. I understand that you're very anti-beating kids, and that is it. And that's it for you. And we respect that. And for the people who want to beat their kids, abego, we can't control you. Just make sure you're doing it from a point. And it also should not be, don't beat your kids often. Be once in a while. If you're supporting beating kids, fine, but don't beat your kids often. Talk to them. They should know. Maybe in a year, amechapwa once. Maybe in a year, I don't know. But I said this topic, I will sound very judgmental because I'm speaking from privilege. So let me not get into the whipping. Whipping kids, it's like violent. Why are parents violent? Now, Emily, I'm gonna leave that conversation right there because that's gonna be between parents. Honestly, me speaking about it at this point will just be. It will just be, I don't know, judgmental. I don't have kids. I don't know what I'd do if I'd have kids. And I've sat down and watched. And I also don't feel like I can intervene. Because sometimes I'm at my sister's house and I'll see her like slap the wrist for the child a bit. And I'm just like, it's not for me to intervene. And if I were to intervene in every time a child was being beaten, can you imagine me going to all my friends' houses or my sister's houses where they have kids and always intervening when there's punishment? I beg. I feel like I'm on the fence about it. I feel like I don't have thoughts about it really. There is an amount of whipping which is logical. King Stephen, yes, I do agree with you. Shal Bowen, you're saying not me getting whipped at 25. I beg. Who dig this bit for you? Shal Bowen. Namzazi. Okay, I don't know. Me, this is wild to me. Even the people who used to tell us they still would get beaten by their parents, like when we were in high school. That was a wonder. I wonder. Stevie could not. No. Hey! I'm so surprised. Is it by your parent you're still getting beaten? Hiyo imenishangaza. Nimeshangaa sana. Whipping a kid is like someone fighting you, beating you, but just sitting there doing nothing. Yet you can leave, but you're still not moving. I guess it is what it is. And that's exactly the description of how we were getting beaten. You were just supposed to wait for your time, for you getting beaten to get over, right? People who were whipped, how close and open are you with your parents? As we were all whipped, and for me, I can say I'm not close to anyone really in my family. I just be the black sheep. But my sisters really be vibing with my parents. So I do not know. I really do not know. I can't comment on the science for this. But again, everything with moderation. King Stephen, you're saying so. No, sitete kuchapa. Again, as you have said, there comes to a point where your parents said she will no longer beat you. That's when she realized now you are capable of knowing what is wrong and what is right. I guess. And I guess for my parents, they just had their own. Everyone has their own manual. There are people who've never been beaten their whole lives because we had kids in school who are not getting beaten. So that was their parents. Us, we were being beaten until a particular age and then they stopped. There are some parents who continue to beat their kids until high school. So I feel like every household had its own. And really, these are one of those things that are so nuanced, we really can't give a blanket opinion over. Emily Wilson, you're saying most parents only show love to when you are useful to them. Your conversation tutarudi na your conversation for black tax. During black tax, usi-miss your episode. In fact, sasa sijui tuifanye next week. Don't miss the episode on black tax because tabia za wazazi, tutaambia Meja atengeze wimbo ingine. Hekaya Bookshop, you're saying, Ruto haki. We are almost numb haki emotionally. Well, imagine the people who are leaving time for Moi. Emily, you are saying, or the mother is a guilt tripper. The mother needs to help too. The mother needs help too. She is hurting. Our mothers, mi nilishasema wapatiwe spa date, sijui hata wapelekwe vacation mahali kwanza, because our mothers are going through a lot and they are hurt and they do not know they are hurt and they're functioning on autopilot. Our mothers did not know the idea of self-care or a self-day or self-treats. Our mothers do not know that. Our mothers only know selflessness. Hata akiwa na hiyo yake kidogo, she must share with people. Our mothers don't know selfishness, and that is something that I think should be something taught, or maybe we should be keen about as new parents. Yes, that's something we should be keen about as new parents. Poetry Dolly at, you are saying, I don't believe in beating kids. Like the person who said, if beating works, why don't we beat deadbeat dads? Sijui mbona muwapigi, lakini mi am for the point muwapige. Wapigwe tuwekwe kwa field mahali na mtu akuje na nyahunyo. Please. Thanks. Anyway, talking for the privilege of child freeness. I really get you. I get you because even me, I feel like I could have my opinions, but I don't think my opinions are valid when it comes to parenting. I can talk about it from a mental point of view because emotional abuse and things like those, like mental abuse is something that will mark you for years. For years, there are things you might not ever heal from. So I can talk about it from the mental perspective, but when it comes to beating, CG ways of parenting, honestly, as a child-free person, I don't want to stand here and speak from my high horse down at parents. Yeah. Dolly at you are saying, who you are 25? Hello. Kumbe mko wengi. Hello, hey, Martha Smurfy, you're saying jump and pass at 25. Who did this bit for you? Jump and pass, please. Prayers for who you are 25. Nedi Subela na kuombea. Hey, you are going through a lot. Shalbawen, wazazi bana. Hey, tunakuombea. Shalbawen, we put you before the Lord. In fact, Prophet Award, now that the world did not end, we put Shalbawen before you. Hey, Kathiliseche, you're saying, hata hiyo ya not often ikuwe measured. Kwetu it was the once per year, but utapigwa hadi meza na sufuria. By the way, when we say don't beat often, your scarce beating isikuwe sasa compensate for the time when you need to beat them. And I've just remembered there was this comedy, I don't know what comedian was on Churchill, and he said how, I don't know if it's true, but that joke was so funny. He said that when they were growing up, the parents would beat them in the morning before they go. Ati unapigwa in advance for the mistakes they know that you'll do. So mnamka asubuhi, mnaekwa wote, kiboko, and then he goes because he knows you will do something during the day. Akiwacha niache kucheka, vitu zingine si poa na si normal. But I remember that joke to date. Akipoeti Dolly at you're asking Shal what she did. Shal, what did you do no chapo at 25? Surely nothing warrants being beaten. At 25, Nedi Swabela says, I was beaten, but my relationship with my mother has grown better over the years. So what we need to recognize is that even as much as you, when you are growing up, especially us who have like baby boomer parents, older parents, when we were growing up, the relationship with our parents wasn't to be their friend. Our parents were just supposed to be our parents. So they were busy being parents. And right now that you've grown up, once you get to a particular point and you're now older, now your parents start to be your friends. So the relationship sort of morphs into something else. And I see a lot of people redefining their relationship with their parents once they've grown up. And I guess it is the way of life. I guess that's just how life is. And kudos to you if you're rebuilding the relationship with your parents, because I feel like every person I've had who rebuilds the relationship with their parents in their adulthood, they become almost besties with their moms or their dads, which is very, very beautiful. King Stephen, you're saying Poetry Doliat. I was almost to ask that. What did she do? Aya, bawa utatuambia ulifanya nini? Emily Wilson, people should normalize becoming parents willingly. That's the entire conversation, because we don't talk enough about the preparedness of being a parent, and not so much in terms of finances, in terms of when you're signing up to not knowing what your child will be like at 12. You're signing up to not knowing what your child will be like at 13 or even at 4. You don't know. So at the end of the day, when you're signing up for being a parent, are you ready to go through the stages and cross those bridges when you come to them at whatever stages your child is in? Also, if you're going to have multiple children, are you signing up knowing that I might need to show up for these children in different ways on different days? And that's something you just need to know. And I'm not telling you to prepare for it. I'm just telling you to be aware while you're going into parenting. And Emily Wilson, you continue to say, people should normalize becoming parents willingly. Actually, ladies. Oh, you're talking about ladies. Okay. And that's what I said. We can be here and talk about don't have children, don't deadbeat men, deadbeat boys, what are they called? Deadbeat dads. But at the end of the day, women have to realize you're the one carrying the child. You literally are the one carrying the child. And if that man moves out of the country or goes while you are pregnant, I beg, what do you do? I beg, go. And I don't know if you've watched the episode where I went on Lydia Wanjiro's podcast. And with Lydia, we said, Lydia keeps insisting, have children when you want to have children, you as the woman. Here, we're not even considering the man. You as the woman only have children when you want children, and not when the man wants, when the society wants, when your family wants. You yourself, you've decided, now I want to have a child. And you go into it knowing that you want to have a child. And at this point, when you're prepared like that, it doesn't matter whether the dad will be there or not. If you had your child intentionally for you, it will be easier for you to show up. Because sometimes we were even talking about, it's not so much that the man will be a deadbeat. What if he dies? And also for the men, you have to be keen about having children. Because what if the mother actually dies? Have you signed up to continue taking care of your children and your children being your first priority? Because we also see men who have children, but then once something happens to the mother, they easily just marry someone else. And they marry someone else for convenience and not so much to take care of their children. And that's why we have horrible stepmother stories. And that's because the men just chose someone to take care of them and they didn't care what happened to the children. So at the end of the day, we should go into parenting very seriously. Please go and watch When Mother Left. When Mother Left is an episode. Was it episode 4? But it's on season 4. I hope I remember these things and link them in the description. On season 4, we also talked about When Mother Left. And I keep referencing that episode because there is the women who came on actually said, even the ones who have children, prepared enough. Like they were like, at this point, I need to make sure I set up my kids in case I die. My kids don't have to go through particular suffering. So those are some of the calculations you actually make in your head when you're choosing a partner to have kids with. Is it a partner who will show up for your kids even when you are not there? Sometimes it's not even death. It could be incapacitation. You might have been in an accident. Sometimes you might have to go to another country to work, whether the man or the woman. Are you sure your kids are in safe hands? And that is something you can only be sure of if you married or if you had kids with the right person. So at the end of the day, this conversation was so layered. It's good I didn't even do like a psychoanalysis. But yeah, King Stephen, you're saying there's a lot also to be discussed aside from parents beating kids. There's also some things parents pass to their kids which are not ethical to the society. Can you give me examples, please? But that is true. Yes, there are things we pass down. And you people, are you kwanza mental disorders? Wacha tutaongelea hiyo siku ingine. Shalboen, you're saying, I carried a drink for our farm worker and they found it. Oh, it got bad real quick. Oh, ulibebea waka wenu katambla kama meja. Wakakwambia, kuonko na hii tambla utawezana. I still don't feel like that is worth beating. But Sasa, let me ask, when you're being beaten at 25, do you just like sit and wait to be beaten? Or are you running around screaming, trying to fight back? I really need to know what beating looks like when you're older. That is so... Anyway. Now, Jamani, I don't think this warrants being beaten. See, even the worker is also an adult. I don't see it warrants being beaten. But anyway, Regiachi, you're saying, lakini pia kuna deadbeat moms, lakini we are not ready for that conversation. There are actually deadbeat moms. And a lot, let me not even say deadbeat moms, there are actually moms not fit to be moms. I will say it. I've seen the way some people are behaving out here. You have no right to be having a child. Some of you people out here, You're wounding your children. You are wounding your children, and we can see it. Yes, and I agree with you. There are deadbeat moms, and there are moms not fit to be moms, because I think we also sort of chastise mothers so much that we do not clock the ones who are actually very abusive to their kids, or rather have abandoned their kids, or do things that are literally putting their kids in harm's way. Because how many cases of a mother who's dating someone who's abusive to the kids, and they want to keep the marriage or the man, and so they let that man continue doing whatever he's doing to the kids. A lot of people here are not fit to be mothers. A lot of people here, because in fact, you are what are they called? You are a boy crazy woman. You are not fit to be a mother. There's nothing you can tell me, because you will choose a man any day over your children until you heal your boy craziness. I don't trust you to be a parent. King Stephen, first, you're saying especially kids raised from a family that have immoral behaviors. Abego. When we say immoral behavior, what do we mean? Because immoral is very subjective. I usually don't toe the line of immorality, because what's right to me could be wrong to you. So yeah, when you say immoral behavior, what do you mean? Wait, bado unacheka shal boyd. Wow, walisema hawataki ulevi hapo. Hey, acha kama ni ulevi, surely. Children Free, you're saying, how do people heal from these unique parents' characters? You'll have to, this is intentionality on your part. Like, a lot of us were wounded by our parents, and this is something that I've said, I think, was it season 3 where I covered a lot of the wounds that I got from my childhood. And for me, imagine my parents were not even abusive. It's just the things they were doing passively. Like, my mom is an extreme clean freak. Abego. Like, my mom is an extreme clean freak. I think this one I have mentioned. And because of that, I took after her. And I really needed to understand whether being a clean freak or being a control freak is something that's passed down hereditary, or it's just something we acquire. Because she's very bothered by how, she calls it lonely, but me, I'm a solitude babe. Me, I like being by myself. And my mom, a lot of times, is just like, you can't, like, why don't you want to be with people? Because people don't have things in order the way you taught me to be. And so there's this thing when she came to my house and she was like, this is extreme. Because she was like, your house is so clean, I don't know where to even put my bag. Like, I don't know if I'm allowed to even sit on a chair. And I'm like, me, I took after you. And I'm sorry if mine now is on steroids. Me, I don't know. But here we are. Me, I cannot stand disorganization. But at some point, I had to get to a point where I was like, for how long will I blame my mom? I'm now 29. I'm now 30. I'm now 33. Will I sit here and still say, my parents did? At some point, it takes intentionality, and you're like, they did what they did. Now it's time for me to start doing my own. It's time for me to heal. It's time for me to unpack. It's time for me to decide what I want to do going forward. So it gets to a point where you can't keep on blaming where you came from. And the meme that says, now you're the background. Because there's a child in school who's telling people, by the way, my aunt is poor. You are the poverty, by the way. When people say, I come from a poor background, you at your age of 30, 35, you're now the background. Clock it and know that you now need to act right. You can't keep blaming your parents. Yes, they hurt you, but so you are now 30. Do better. How do people heal from these unique parents' characters? Intentionality. Do parents respect kids' boundaries? African parents have never heard of it, and if they could, they don't care. So those are things you have to, maybe those are things that you're breaking. When we asked what cycles are you breaking, if your parents never allowed you to speak, and I see that is something my sisters are doing with their kids, they allow their kids to express whatever it is, the thoughts they have. And sometimes I'm usually surprised because my sisters actually take opinions from my kids, from their kids. Like, their kids will say something like they'll be sorting out things and their kids will say, Mommy, take the yellow one. The yellow one is cute. And their mother will take the yellow one. So I'm just like, wow, this is so beautiful. Like, oh my goodness, we are healing generations. So yes, kids don't have a voice. At least us growing up, we didn't have a voice. But right now I see people breaking those cycles, and I'm very proud of millennial agency parents. You people are really doing it. I'm really proud of you. And I'll keep on giving you your flowers until the day. Children Free, you are saying, in my opinion, if the clock turned back, most of us couldn't exist. Most parents huku ni child free, ni venye mama zao na baba zao waliwaweka pressure. I don't even think it's their parents. It's just how the society was set up. You were supposed to finish school at this age, get a husband or get a wife, get children, raise those children. There was no question about it. No one ever questioned. I think with the Gen Z is the first time we're seeing a generation that questions things. Before, you were born, you found a template and you just followed the template. But right now we are seeing people who are questioning, and I think our parents were at the time for just following the template. Because there are some aunties I look at and I'm just like, oh, you angekwa auntie best. Angekwa rich auntie vibes. Trotting the world and just coming to coming back to just say hi to the family, kidogo kidogo, arudi atembe. Some of my aunties I really don't think would have had children given the option. So I do agree with you. Emotional damage is worse than psychological damage. Isn't that the same thing? I think that's the same thing. Or maybe you meant physical. If you meant physical damage, it could be, yeah. But also physical damage, Pia, because you've seen these extreme punishments where a parent has burnt the child's hands. Vitu zingine jamani, vitu zingine. Children free, you're saying clean freak is perhaps you were trained and you are a good student, you became perfect. And sometimes the student becomes better than the teacher. And what will we do? OCD, why? Because I was trained to do things perfectly and presentable. I don't think it's OCD because I've seen there are people whose houses I've been to and they have the exact same order standards as me. And I'm just thinking, it's just cleanliness. I wouldn't classify it under OCD because OCD is an actual mental disorder. So I wouldn't classify it under OCD, but there's a level of cleanliness, just a clean freak that is crazy. Me, my house has to be in order. Cleanliness is not, cleanliness, yes, is up there, but order is number one. Like, I think cleanliness, like sometimes I could go, like, let's say I've called my lady for cleaning and she's not available on Tuesday, she's available on Thursday. In my head, I'll feel like the house is dirty throughout on Wednesday, but I can still stand it. But out of order, you cannot tell me that I'm seeing something that's not in its place right now and I just sit still. It will really bother me. But so those are things that were passed down to me. And it's one of the reasons actually for me being child free, because I was like, I am too orderly. My house is a house a child cannot stay in. And I also feel like I also don't want to be bothered. I also don't want my things to move around. And for that reason, kila mtu akae kwake. Where you stay in my ovaries, let me stay in this house that I'm paying rent. It's simple as that. So if you're just coming in, this is the In All Honesty podcast on our TBC radio show that comes to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on Instagram Live. And today we were talking about breaking cycles and what we are not passing on from our parents. Now, this conversation was brought on by a video that went viral on TikTok of a mom who was very irate towards their child. They were wielding a hammer and saying how they don't need those children and she really doesn't care for them and they should go and get married and she's giving them 3 years to get out of that house and all of that. But also something that we have to clock, even with this entire discussion, that if you have already missed, don't worry, we'll be up on our streaming platforms from tomorrow onwards, whether it's Spotify, I almost said Afrobeats, Afropods, or YouTube, whatever it is you listen to your podcast on, you will find it from tomorrow onwards. And something that we didn't clock during this discussion is that we also have a generation of people who are very good at playing victim and writing the narrative to be the victim. So even the way that child was at the end of the video, she said that the money you guys gave me from the live, I went and bought smoky pasua for me and my brother because my mom is cooking the food, but I don't think I want to eat that food. The fact that that woman was that riled up and she still made food for them to eat and she just didn't want to eat that food because she's angry at the mom with all the things she said, that also sorts of points to that person having curated that narrative specifically to look like she and her brother get abused by that woman. And for her to post it on the internet, I think it was some sort of revenge, actually. So we also have to, yes, this video has its own nuances and there's context that we don't have, but we also have to be keen that we are also in a generation that's very keen to create themselves as the victims. People often draw a narrative to be the victims. And that is why when someone comes and tells you how someone treated them badly, nini, ask them for the full story or go to the other person and ask them for the full story. Utapata alifanyia mtu kitu, alafu when someone retaliated, now they come and play victim. So that's another aspect of this video that we should consider, that we live with a generation that could be curating narratives so that they play victim. And then they are victims now to reactionary things because ulienda ukachokoza mtu akareact and then sasa you become the victim because you've only given us the second part of the story where you are the victim, but you've not given us the entire context. Now that's a risky thing to say, considering that this was a very heated topic on TikTok and a lot of people who feel hurt by their parents were really giving their opinions, but you will not bully me out of mine. Genuinely, there are people who really like to play victim. Growing up, I was considered a bad kid. No, I wasn't bad. I just didn't do things the way they wanted. Children free, you're saying, yes. And that is why we are also, when we're talking about parenting right now in the times that we live in, also think of your kids as individual beings and approach them as having different personalities. And that is why I'm saying, when you decide to have children, what capacity do you have? Do you have the capacity to show up for 3 children if you're going to have 3? Do you have the capacity to show up for 5 if you're going to have 5, right? So at the end of the day, that is something we have to be very careful about, because some kids were thought to be just, oh, ni kichwa, huyu hatumwelewi, but it was just a child who was different. They just needed to be approached different. And that is why you see why I keep picking fights with the education system in Kenya, because somehow I was made to believe that I'm not a smart child, but I was a B student, constant throughout, right? And that B never felt enough. And also looking back now, I was struggling to even get that B. I really struggled because I'm a kinesthetic learner. So this idea of sitting in class and cramming what someone is saying to me, I struggled. But then someone just thinks you're not working hard enough, you know. So at the end of the day, we need to realize that kids have personalities. And if you're going to have more than one child, please be able to adjust yourself to show up for different children differently. Children free, you continue to say, I question a lot. I used to answer back a lot. I was against a lot of stupid, shitty rules. So you probably were an active, advocate personality kid, the kids who really speak out. And if you come from a family that's a bit more reserved and like keeping face, so yeah, you will look like the child who really, you don't have a future here, eh? At least I'm not mentally damaged that much like the rest. The rest who towed the line, yeah, maybe. So even kids in different kids in one family can turn out differently, because even the parents don't show up the same for different kids. That's why we have favoritism. There are kids who are liked more than other kids. So all of that comes into play. And in season 4, again, we have a series of 4 episodes where we talk about birth order. So we had the firstborns, lastborns, middle kids, and then we had only kids as well. So if you catch season 4, you'll get all those episodes and also understand and find where you belong, because there's a lot of things that affect how we grow up and what informs who we are as adults. Simply Richie. Oh, that's it. Oh, Simply Richie, you're saying. Also, mi nataka kujua, because I'm in a season where I just don't want to be bothered, especially since I moved from home, from college. I just want to stay unbothered. Don't feel like being there. Nothing wrong. I think that's valid. I think it is very valid. Sometimes you just want to be by yourself. Like, you don't want to share space. You don't want to wake up to people in the morning. It's a very valid thing. Don't even question yourself. If you feel like you want to move, just move. Because sometimes that's just it. You want to. And that's enough. That's a good enough reason. I just want to move. I want to live by myself. That's a good enough reason. Si lazima ati kuna shida nyumbani. Because even me, if you ask me why I moved, it's not like I came from a bad house. Me, I just wanted to sleep in. I wanted to sit, because my mom's house, you always had to be working. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually not a bad thing to stay busy all the time. But me, I just want to sleep. So for that reason, I moved out. Kwani? Yeah, so it's not, you just move out. If you feel like it, you have the resources, why talk? Something doesn't have to be bad at home for you to try something or just be by yourself. Nedi Suabella, you're saying, my mom says I was a difficult child. I was just vocal. Difficult children are considered vocal. In Africa, children were supposed to be seen and never to be heard. So the children who were heard were considered not so good children. Ule ni mtoto mbaya. In fact, ungepata other people in the estate or whatever would warn their kids against the child who'd talk a lot. And right now, I see how my nieces and nephews are yappers. They just be yapping, and their parents don't stop them. They just be talking. We ongea, sema hiyo yako. So I really love, and that's why I'm giving my flowers to Gen Z and millennial parents. They really are breaking those cycles. Those cycles we're talking about in this episode, they really be breaking them. Children free, you're saying, if your parents hurt you, confront them. They won't kill you. Your mental health matters. She's not what she ordered. I don't understand that last part, but yes, speak up if your parents are hurting you. But it's, I think when we talk about these things, we're also talking about it from the privilege of being adults. And we don't realize that when you're growing up, at that time, you don't have these inferences. You don't have this experience to know I'm supposed to speak up even when I'm being perceived wrong. As a child, you've grown up in this family where you're already being stifled. Haujaambiwa mbona. So we're approaching a lot of these things thinking like adults. We don't think about when we were kids. When you were kids, you were just feeling hurt. You're just like, mbona nanyamazishwa? But I'm just saying the truth. Like, I'm just speaking my mind. So as a child, you don't know what that is. You can't comprehend what that is. But yes, now as an adult, we can see it. So we can't tell a child to just speak up. They don't know that that's what they're supposed to do. So just hopefully they have the temperament to keep speaking up their mind, and somehow they survive it. And unasema mzazi hawezi kukuua na watu wanachapwa hapa at 25. Simply Richie, you're saying I've been an emotionally in tuned boy growing up. I just feel like my mom never knew how to handle that, so she would just dismiss me. Yes, parents dismissed what they didn't understand. Honestly, we grew up. Me nasema tu, that's our parents growing up. I don't know whether we should call it forgiveness or tuachie tu na tusonge. So we do better with whatever we have now going forward. Because if we also have to like clock what our parents did, from now on, we're just like, me, this was done to me. I didn't like it. So me, I'm going to do different. Simple as that. So that we can move on. But I totally get you. And whenever parents didn't understand something, they just dismiss you. And for me, I could use reference yangu ni funny. Nah, it's not as serious, but it's the same thing. I remember when this time I was complaining, and I kept on rubbing my big toe, and it wasn't painful, it was very itchy. It was just itchy, and I kept on crying, and my mom is like, you can't be crying just about an itchy toe. And then it's just conveniently, my auntie was visiting at the time, and my auntie was like, why would this child really cry about an itchy toe? And then my auntie was like, or maybe she has jiggers. Do you know I actually had jiggers? And for 2 weeks, I was just crying, scratching my big toe. So my auntie got jiggers out of my feet or out of my big toe. And you can imagine that's just me making a reference of what being dismissed is, because parents were just too busy doing other things. An itchy toe is what you want to kunisumbua nayo, yet I'm trying to make food, I'm trying to get you guys to school and all of that. So yeah, parents were very dismissive, and I can also understand they had a lot to handle. And as I say, our parents didn't have the chance to choose. And if they did, I feel like our parents would have had less kids, that have had kids later, that have had no kids. So at the end of the day, we also extend them grace. And as we started this podcast, we said they too do not know. They too are just doing this for the first time. How be how I lewi. So we extend them grace. Children free, when I told my parents sitaki ndoa wala watoto, they told me about the Bible, society, caste. Iyo kwanza utazoea sana. In fact, me, I don't mention to people that I'm child free. I don't. I'm not even ready for that conversation. Sina nguvu ya kuombewa. Honestly, we are going through a lot as a country. I do not have the time to be prayed for. Just told them I've always respected their decision. They should try respecting mine. Sometimes it's not wise to reason with your parents. Let them be. Just let them be. They'll never see your point of view. They come from a very different time. It will only frustrate you when they can't understand your point of view. Let them be. Me, I don't explain things to my parents, so they find out, I look at them. If they ask questions, I will answer. If they don't understand the answer, we move on, I beg. Because if you also try and make them understand and seek that validation for respect my decision, they'll never respect it. So you can imagine we had another episode for grief in season 4, where we had one person who was saying they are actually grieving their parents who are alive because they were kicked out of the family for being queer. So you can imagine, if you're looking for the validation of that parent, move, because they might never even change their mind. If anything, they could actually throw you out. Mbona unawasumbua akili na niwaze? Emily Wilson, sio wote though, but hawa wamama wa kuchapa watoto na they have a lot of kids. Most of them are unhappy. Do parents ask for forgiveness? You will really wait. I think I've had some parents who've asked for forgiveness, and that is why that's why I'm harsh towards the parents who don't, because I know it's a possibility. So the ones who don't, I know, are just proud. And that's okay. If you realize your parents are the proud ones who will never really ask for forgiveness, you make peace with yourself and move on, and don't seek that from them, because you'll be constantly frustrated. Simply Richie, you're saying, I agree, for peace sake, don't bother explaining. They get agitated because what they believe is final. To imagine, and I usually say this, can you imagine someone who's believed in something for 60 years? You're trying to change their mind right now. Like, you can't even change the mind of a 20-year-old. So can you imagine trying to introduce something new to someone at the age of 40, at the age of 50? So choose your own peace, go and live your life. There's a family, pick your own friends and family who understand what decision this is. And in that circle, then you can discuss whatever this is with you. When you go back to your parents, discuss whatever it is that is at their level. So it is really good to compartmentalize, even for your own peace. Now, this is the In All Honesty podcast on our TBC radio show that comes to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on Instagram Live. And we were talking about breaking cycles. What are we not passing on from our parents? Now, I want to read not a confession, but one contribution that I got that's probably just summed up the whole conversation before we get to closing. And I might also, let me read some of the responses that I got on TikTok and Instagram for this particular teaser, this particular episode. Someone on TikTok said, open-minded on TikTok said, kids want autonomy, parents want control or to guide. That is very true. So you have to find that balance and don't be a control freak. If you are a control freak, don't be a parent. I am telling you for free. Even me, I know I'm child free because I will want everything in my house to be exactly like this and I need things to work like this. So if my child won't keep up, I'll be very frustrated. Tattoo on TikTok is saying, hii trauma ni ya wazazi na watoi. Both are wounded. Chances are hata hao watoi watakuwa tu hivo kama mama yao. Very true. Again, we've talked about it. Both the mom and the child are both wounded. And right now, it's very easy to throw jabs at your mother. Wait until you become a mother. And this I usually hear from my sisters, where they usually say, hey, saa zingine najiona mami. Yani saa zingine, I start to humanize. I start to realize our mom, really, this is it. And yani, yes. So you might actually turn out to be your mother. And like for me, I knew if I'll have children, I will need them to maintain the standards of order that I have in my house. And that will wound them. So at the end of the day, make an informed decision. Emily Wilson is on the live as well. On TikTok, she said, the mother is child-free, but was forced to have kids. This is a very common thing. I really believe that a lot of people would have changed their minds if given the options, and those are our parents. And on Instagram, we had W. Jerry Muthoni saying, nilisema huko Facebook at it's not okay to talk to your children like this. Nikaambiwa ninyamaze. That's how everyone grew up. Every African mom apparently talks like this. So the way this mom was talking was very familiar. So all of us actually related. This is how Africans work. But to normalize it is the problem. To tell people now, just shut up, that's how things are done. No. And I can understand it was happening on Facebook. Facebook, siku gani mtajari? Just try and keep up with times, people, for Facebook. I am Kiseke on Instagram is saying, can't wait for this episode. I have experienced this Nasija heal. I just detached. It's easier to detach. It's usually a coping mechanism. When you get to the point when you can start unpacking, I hope you do, and I hope you heal. I am Kiseke. I don't know if it's a he or she. They say sijui nitatuma maoni wapi. Sijui kama alikuja nini DMs, kama alikuja DMs sijaona. Mercy No Fear is saying, where I didn't see it until now, but your words really hurt. Words really cut deep. So that is why I'm saying, I was the kind for, imagine nichape usiniambie maneno mbaya mbaya, just beat me. So words are something very sharp that we also need to watch. And I know, because even like my friends who've been, my friends when you wanapenda vurugu, they usually tell me, the way I have a sharp tongue, that's how I get to people. I can't fight, but I know exactly what button to press with my words. And so words are not something to play with. And I think it's the Bible that says the tongue is like a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways, yeah? And Kate Bryce on Instagram is saying, narcissistic moms who haven't the faintest that they are narcissistic, competitive, jealous, etc. So these are all now psychological issues that we don't clock because, again, our parents didn't have the resources for CG mental health, mental wellness. But I've said again, in our season 4, there's an episode where we tackled mental illness or mental wellness in parents. And we can see how there were confessions that came in where people realized their parents were not exactly mentally stable later on in life. But when they were growing up with them, these parents were going through the most. And as I've given the example, this idea of your child talking back to you and you causing an alarm and saying they wanted to beat you, that is almost on the spectrum of pathological lying, and that's not normal. And somehow Africans normalized it. And I don't know if you've seen this video of a woman who's being asked for money, and she literally somersaults back. And she's like, I don't have your money. What shall I do? And she somersaults. And that's how dramatic some of these parents can be when you're just asking them for something normal or you're asking them to be accountable. So at the end of the day, there's things that our parents were suffering from that we've just never clocked, but it's very psychological. And if we're not keen, we might pass it down, or if we're not keen, we are hurting our children. And also be very keen. Like we've said, the way you should be intentional about being a parent, be very keen when you're going into parenting. Are you predisposed to any form of mental disorders? You know, sometimes you don't know, you really don't know. And that's why some of us could be out here making fun and we're like, oh, tuvute bangi, tukunywe pombe. But you see that pombe or bangi is the one thing that ticks off one of your friend. It's the trigger that now sends them into their condition. So we also don't know if we are predisposed to mental conditions and we are continuing to have kids, and then maybe something becomes a trigger. It could be postpartum depression becomes a trigger. Now we are here. It could be something that will happen later on in life that becomes a trigger. Death of a partner, or a partner doing something, or an accident. You don't know what could be a trigger. And if you're predisposed to any form of mental condition, then you don't know when it will strike, and then you don't know how you will show up for your kids. So as we're going into parenting, as we choose to be parents, there's so much to consider, because the life of another person who is completely helpless is literally in your hands, solely in your hands. Let me read some comments. Happy nature.adventure, you're saying, Kwanza, these people in unhappy marriages ndio wako against child free. Unmarried na LGBTQ. All people in unhappy marriages are against child free, unmarried, and LGBTQ. Unhappy marriages are very harmful to your kids. You'd rather be in a single parent household than be in an unhappy marriage. Because as much as we think that you hold on for the kids, you're actually continuing to harm the kids. And the kids usually feel it, because you've seen kids who've come from complete families, as they call it, but they are very deeply wounded. So at the end of the day, also an abusive or a toxic relationship is not good for your kids, even if they're being provided for everything. The Don Mario saying, these guys didn't even tell us sorry when we fell down. Now you want them to apologize for things they think they are right about. That's quite the hill to climb. Agreed 100%. This is like our showstopper. That one, tunafaa kumaliza nayo show. So, ukaange tu kijua. Happy nature.adventure, you say. Just asking a curious question. What did your mom say about your nice piercing? Nose piercing. Actually, I got it very recently. And she didn't say anything. I think she just gave up. She just sighed. Because that day we were at home. My home is in Oyugis. So I insisted on living with my brother-in-law. And I was like, nataka kufika hapa Kisii, nifanye kitu. And I was very determined to go pierce my nose. I was this old. Maybe I was 30. It was like 2 years ago. So I was this old. And I went to Kisii. I pierced my nose and I came back and I was wearing a mask. So my mom thought it's just for dust. So baadaye, I just saw her look at my face. And then she just went... and then went on with her business. She's never talked about it. But also because I might be a quiet person, but I'm also I don't know what to call it. I'm also very expressive. I'm very expressive, but in a quiet way. I'm almost like passive aggressive. So even after fourth form, I got my second and my third piercing. And I remember when my mom saw the third piercing, she was like, ukitoboa ingine, utafute pa kuishi, because hautaishi hapa. So I've always been very expressive in how, even if I'm not talking, I'll express things. Like I'll chora my tattoos. My tattoos also, my mom saw, she was just like, alichoka tu. Like it got to a point where alichoka tu. Alijua, hii ishaenda. So that's the story of my nose piercing. Let me read our final contribution here, which I think will culminate our entire episode. And then tunaweza funga. This was such a beautiful discussion. Thank you so much for joining. You are the absolute best. So this, not confession, but anyway, contribution says, self-care will be a necessity, not a luxury in my family. That's what they're changing for their kids. The viral video of the mother shouting and swinging a hammer might look like abuse at first glance, but if you really listen to her tone, you can hear just how tired she is. We often see only a snapshot, not the full story, not the emotional build-up that pushes a parent to that edge. And while her reaction may not be ideal, there's something to be said about how some children today have mastered the art of triggering their parents, then turning around to claim reactive abuse, especially when the parent doesn't follow the script of gentle parenting. Imagine how hard adulting already is. Bills, expectations, personal struggles. Now add parenting on top of that. Some children test limits like it's a sport. And while that doesn't excuse harmful reactions, it does highlight how high the stakes are and how underprepared many people are when stepping into parenthood. What I've come to understand is this. You can never be fully prepared to be a parent, but you can choose to commit to it consciously. That means evolving as your child grows, adjusting your parenting as needed, and most importantly, showing up for yourself too. I won't abandon who I am just because I'm a mother. I'll prioritize rest, support, and self-care because our mothers often didn't, and many of us never got to meet the best version of them because of it. Also, I will not shy away from physical discipline when it is truly warranted. I believe that in some cases, a well-timed spanking, not out of rage, but out of reasoning, can be a tool, not trauma. That's how I intend to break the cycle, by being a whole, aware, and balanced parent, not a perfect one. Do you see how this contribution culminated everything we've discussed today so perfectly? And this is a gift that other people have. Me, I'm just a yapper. But as a yap, there are people who can really summarize everything you've said in the most perfect ways. And I think that's a beautiful way to close our podcast. The discussion has been really good. I'll read last comments here before we close. Happy Nature.adventure, you are saying, parents should work on their communication skills 100%. And you now going into parenting, this is something that you need to clock. And also, if you're a new parent, maybe learn it before your child grows older, and you can start adjusting. The way this person has said, just adjust. When you sign up to be a parent, you just know I'm adjusting to the different levels of my child growing up. And it's very, very beautiful. Let me see what other contribution we had here before I close. Happy Nature.adventure, you're saying, how will I know you are not hurting if you're not communicating? You just continue with your thoughts. So that's true. So I think for our parents, there's not much you can do to our too, and then you meet them where they are. Because I said also, I don't like the frustration of trying to make my parents see my point of view. I love enjoying the time that I have with them. Jupia si mingi wanazeeka, So when I meet my parents, wherever those small spaces in which we agree, those ones are the ones I bank on. Even though if we are gossiping, let me sit with my mom and we gossip. When I sit with my dad, we discuss sijui cars, we discuss sijui what, we discuss sijui biashara ya nani. That's all. We're not gonna go into the sijui my sexuality or what I think about the church or sijui my child freeness. No, those are things that I don't need to discuss with my parents. Let me bank on the happy parts that we all agree on. And then with my other circles that understand exactly where I stand with some things, then I'll discuss the other things. And I think that saves me a lot of struggle, because sometimes even my friends ask me, the way you describe your relationship as your mom as strenuous or something, it's like, you know how to navigate it. You know your mom is very religious. Don't go there with anti-religious talk. It's as simple as that. So you learn how to still continue spending time with your parents while they're still here in the best way you can, instead of always trying to make them see the other side. You find other people, find your other family that you can. I was given a phrase this week. It was called, it's a Luo phrase that says, what ime dogi osie, which it translates to, family is what is it called? You curate your family with friends. Family haitoshangi. Unakwanga na kafamilia kako kadamu, and then you add your friends. And sometimes you choose your own family. Like you pick out and choose your given family, because some people have been cast out from their families. They have to make a whole new family. And that's another discussion, because I've heard of people who are like, yeah, sometimes you make your own family with your own friends, and it's a very lovely, happy community. But there are things you need, like a mother's hug or a father's hug, that community just cannot solve. So there's things like those, but we'll have it in another conversation. This was a beautiful, beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for contributing. If you missed the live action, do not worry. By tomorrow, it will be on all streaming sites, YouTube, Spotify, AfriPods, Castbox, wherever it is you listen to your podcast, utaipata, and you can be able to just listen to the conversation, contribute, leave whatever, what is it called? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and we might read them in the next episode. And let's continue sharing. Also, just to plug in, remember that I do have an emotional intelligence hub that is by Olive. You can go and check it out, where I just offer tools to be able to help you manage your emotions and also help you with communication. So we'll get to it when we'll get to it. And thank you so much. I am so blessed to have you guys. Really, munamka asubuhi kuingia live. It's a win, it's a win, it's a win. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Haya, wacha nisome hizi za mwisho zimeingia, alafu tuende. Sijui I don't know what song I'll leave you with, but Happy Nature guy. What is this? Who dig this bit for me? Just asking a curious question, not that parents should work. Or Happy Nature.adventure. How will I know I'm not hurting if you don't communicate? I think that we had read. My mom got married. She says I should get married so that I can nurse my mother-in-law when she's old, just like she did. Abego, mother-in-law, not even your own? Hapo itakuwa ngumu. Naona ni kama itakuwa ngumu. But she left her mother and she died lonely with depression. So sad. I'm sending you so much love. At the end of the day, I don't know, Abby. We don't know. We just figure it out as we go. But remain intentional and choose yourself. Choose yourself. You might want to rescue other people, but you will not rescue them when you're not here with us. So at the end of the day, choose yourself. And I hope we get to clock things in time Find help whenever it is you need to find help. Don't feel ashamed about getting help to raise your children. If you'll need a therapist here and there, or you'll need a house help, or you'll need a stay-in person, I don't know what kind of help, but there is no shame in getting help. Literally, it's 2025. We single people literally have people cleaning our houses. We mbona usisaidiwe with our whole child. So get help whenever you can. Nedi Swabella, you're saying thanks, Olive. This was so wholesome. I loved the conversation today. Thank you to you for joining as well. The Donmar, it's because we love you. Na usiambie watu. Mbona unakuaga hivi? Na hizi ndio props nilikuwa niende nitumie for street cred. Mimi napendwa na mkiwago asubuhi, Juu sina morning texts. What a way to compensate for not getting good morning texts. Happy Nature.adventure, you're saying, when I see her, I pity. I don't know, I can say me, her, and her mother. But I just pity someone. Sijui ni nani, but I just know it's a lady. But at the end of the day, sending you so much love. We heal. I just hope all of us get to achieve some level of peace and happiness. We all just experience it. And with that, I think I'll leave you with Joshua Baraka. I don't know why I've started feeling Joshua Baraka lately, but this is a Ugandan artist, and Wrong Places is what I will leave you with. And continue having a lovely, lovely week. Tunanzanga Monday. So yes, a lovely week. Happy Nature. Thank you in all honesty for being honest and bringing honesty. Love you. Mwah! Eva, saindo unaingia at this time. And you're expecting to gain popularity. But thank you so much. Actually, the contribution that we've just read, Yo ya Mwisho, was for Eva. So she really culminated everything that we were talking about in this entire podcast. So thank you. Bless you. I'll leave you with Joshua Baraka, Wrong Places. Enjoy your week and lots of love until next Monday. Bye.